What's up everybody and welcome back to the channel. In this episode I got a new tactic I want to show you, so if you ever wanted to play a football manager tactic without a striker, this is the tactic you need to use. Stay tuned. I'm going to jump straight into the tactics here, and you can see this is the tactic that I've been using during my first season as Liverpool when I have simulated the first season, just to see how the tactic performs with the AI in charge. Now, as you can see, this is just a standard 4-3-3, but without the striker and with an offensive midfielder instead. Now, I've been fiddling with the tactics, I've been trying different tactics, and so far this is the best strikerless tactics that I have come across. And you can see here the attacking three players, Salah, Mane and Diaz, have absolutely dominated. Salah has 34 goals, Mane 30, and Luis Diaz 21 goals. That is just an insane number of goals. And I'm just going to walk you through the tactic here. I have two inside forwards, both on attack duty, and using a strikerless tactic, you need offensive players because you are missing that striker. So these players, Salah and Diaz, are going to run straight inside towards the goal. And there's going to be a lot of space because I'm not using that striker. So I have Mane as an attacking midfielder on attack duty. I have used him as a shadow striker, but I just think that the attacking midfielder just is a little bit better because the shadow striker, I feel, doesn't work that well without a striker. I think the shadow striker works best with the tandem when you're using a striker. So this one, the attacking midfielder role, just works better as a solo role, if you can call it that. He's still gonna make those run forwards, but he will actually be more of a focal point for passing. So often Mane will get the ball and draw the defenders to him. He is gonna be a little bit ways from the defenders because there is no attacker. So they're gonna try to close him down, which will lead some space in the channels between the defenders and the fullbacks. So Diaz is going to run this way and he's going to receive the ball from Mane, or Salah is going to run this way. So in the attacking phase, even though Salah and Diaz are going to start here fairly wide, they are going to end up here. So often we have a situation where we have three attacking players, and that's Salah, Diaz, who are running inside, and Mane. Sometimes it will look like this: when Salah runs inside, then Mane will come also here and Diaz will occupy the far post. So there's always opportunities to pass and always opportunities to shoot on goal, especially when you have Salah, Mane and Diaz, who are just deadly players. Now we have Henderson as a box-to-box midfielder, so he will come up here and support. So when Salah, for example, and Mane are in attack, Diaz is going to be here on the left side to offer support, and Henderson is going to stay here, come up here from outside the box and offer some support there. And we have Thiago, who's going to be the main creator. I put him on direct passes, which is a little bit of a conflict because he likes to dictate tempo and play 1s2s. So he likes to be in control of the ball and self-determined how to pass the ball. So Thiago will kind of roam around in this area here. So in the attacking phase, we will have 5 players contributing to the direct attacking phase, while our wingbacks are going to offer some support here. I have Fabinho on the whole position role because since we have committed so many players to the attacking phase of the game, I want one player to offer some support to my 2 defenders here. And they are both ball-playing defenders, and I have them on mark tighter because I need them to be really close to the opposing team's players, and since I have really 2 good defenders, it's not an issue because they can fulfill this role without any problems. Fabinho, I have him on dribble less and take fewer risks, and I want him to tackle harder once players come into his area of influence, and I want him to just hold his position because I don't want him roaming up here. I don't want him being too offensive, so when the opposing team gets a counter attack, I only have 2 players at the back. So I want him to be a defensive midfielder here. Now, looking at the player instructions, I think I have player instructions on all of my players. Now, if we're starting from the back and looking at our wing backs, I have them to mark tighter, and I have them to mark a specific position. So my right wing back, he is going to mark the opposing team's left winger. And the same with Robertson, our left back, he's going to mark the opposing team's right winger. And I want that because I want them to stay really close to their players and not be too stretched out when the opposing team is attacking. If the opposing team doesn't have any wingers, of course they're just going to go back to their standard role. But most Premier League teams play with two wingers, so I want them to be really close to their designated player that they are supposed to mark. This will mean that there's a higher chance for my backs to neutralize those two wingers. Now, our two ball-playing defenders, they just have marked tighter, and I have that because they are really good players. Van Dijk and Matip are really good defenders, and they are capable of marking the opposing team's players really tight without giving too much space away. Fabinho, I don't want him to take any risks. I want him to hold his position because we are committing many players to the attacking phase. I want him to tackle harder once the opposing players enter his area of influence. Now Thiago, I want him to do some direct passing, and Henderson, I want him to move into the channels here because there is going to be some space because my front three players are all fast players and they're going to draw defenders with them, and that's inevitably going to open up some spaces in the opposing team's back four. Now Salah here, I want him to also tackle harder and be more aggressive in the defensive phase of the play, and I also have him to mark the left back of the opposing team. So he's gonna stay close to the left back, and that's gonna also eliminate those left backs. I have the same with Diaz, actually all the same instructions here. I want them to stay close to the backs, which will first and foremost limit the goal kick opportunities for the opposing team because Salah and Diaz are going to mark their wing backs, which will often result in the goalkeeper just hoofing it up the field or trying to pass to the central defenders, and there we have Mane to harass them. But it also means that once they are in the attacking phase, my two players here, even though they are on the attack duty, that means they're going to be really offensive. But since I have them to mark a specific position, I want them also to contribute a lot in the defensive phase of the play. And I'm going to show you just how much that matters once we look at the stats for this season. Mane is actually the only player that doesn't have a specific player instruction. He has just free reign to do whatever he wishes to do. Now we're going to play just simple directness. I don't want to limit my players in short passing or just focus on long passing, but I do have a really high tempo because once I get the ball, I want the players to not dwell on the ball too much, but try to get the ball forward as fast as possible. And I also have run the defense because I have some really good running players, and I want them to constantly try to run at the defense with the ball and trying to be a threat and just add some directness in their play. And this is just a standard gegenpress tactic. I want them to counter press and counter once they have the ball, constantly try to harass the opponents as soon as we lose the ball because there's a bigger chance that we are gonna get that ball back. And I just want my goalkeeper to play it from the back. I want him to, as I have instruction, play out of defense. I want him to give the ball to my two central defenders and two wingbacks. Now, out of possession, I am standing fairly high up the pitch because I want to practice this gegenpressing. I want the players to constantly try to pressure the opposing team, not give them too much space. And using the offside trap, I have some fairly fast players in my back four. So even if some of them get caught out of possession, I still have the pace to catch the opposing player. And just have a really high trigger press and just try to chase the ball down whenever the opposing team has the ball. Now looking at the Premier League table, as you can see here, we won fairly convincingly. We ended up with 99 points. We only lost 3 goals, and we have scored a huge amount of goals. Salah is the main top scorer with 30 goals in the league, and then we have Sadio Mane and Diaz with 21 and 18. That's just a crazy amount of goals for my front three, and really an offensive tactic here that shows that I can create a lot of goals even though I don't have a striker. having a striker is not something that is ultra important. I mean, it does add another dimension to your tactic, but you can make a tactic work even without a striker, as you can see right here. Average rating, a lot of our players, we have Trent, Alexander-Arnold, Salah, Van Dijk, Robertson, Mane, a lot of our players in the top 20 here with the performance. So really happy about that. Obviously Salah with the most amount of goals and most amount of expected goals, both Salah and Sane. So that just shows that we create a tremendous amount of goals and chances with this tactic. It's a really offensive tactic, but even though it is a very offensive tactic, it doesn't mean that it's very it gives a lot of chances against that, because it doesn't. Because if you look at this, fewest shots against, that's us by a decent amount of margin. Even though it's a fairly offensive tactic, we don't concede a lot of shots on goals, and we are actually standing fairly good defensively. And you can see here, shots for, we create a tremendous amount of chances here. So even though we possession wise are not that good, as you can see here, we are not even, I don't think, in the top 10 with the possession. That is completely fine, because I've talked about this a lot with my other Let's Plays. Possession really isn't anything, and that matters even more in FM22, because you can do amazing things, create amazing amount of results without having a possession-based tactic. City has a 58, Arsenal 56, Chelsea 55, and none of them are nearly as good as us in the Premier League. Pass completion, again, it's not something that I focus on. Of course, I want the passes to connect once I made the passes, but I want the passes that matter to connect more, if that makes any sense. So as you can see here, very good performance from us, a very good tactic. It's a very offensive tactic without leaving too much space at the back. Top two assist makers, it's our two backs, our right back and left back. So a lot of they're gonna, so just to go back to the tactic here, in the attacking phase they are gonna be fairly high up here, and they're gonna receive the ball up here, while Salah and Diaz make the runs inside. They're gonna receive the balls from our two backs, which will create a lot of chances. So very good tactic here. I recommend you all to try this tactic. It's a very interesting tactic which will create a lot of good results for your team. Obviously, I am playing with Liverpool, which is one of the best teams in the world, but I'm fairly certain that if I babysitted this tactic and I played myself and made the changes live during the games, I would have beaten this result here, and I would have gotten more than 100 points in this first season in the Premier League. Now let's take a look at some of the matches and see if we can find some highlights in those matches. So just a quick look here, we can see we have some really good results. We beat Manchester City 3-0. We did lose against West Ham and West Ham again, which was a little bit disappointing, but we did beat Chelsea 4-1, Aston Villa 6-0. We drew against Tottenham, and Leicester 4-0, beat them. We beat United, we beat Tottenham 4-1. Chelsea we beat again. City we beat them again 4-1. So some really good results here, and you can see here we scored a lot of goals in most of the games. We did lose against United, we did lose against Arsenal here, and Leicester, and Real Madrid eventually beat us in the Champions League quarterfinals. So we did get eliminated just before the final, which was a little bit disappointing. But again, if I babysitted this tactic, I am fairly sure that I would have made it to the finals and even won the finals. Now this is the games against Chelsea, where I won 4-1 away from home, and you can see here, just because I have that high pressure, I can win the balls high up the pitch, and just one or two passes and I have a big chance. Here Luis Diaz won the ball and Sane ended up scoring. And here I score from a direct corner kick, so not that interesting regarding tactics. But again, very aggressive pressing here from me. Chelsea has the ball. I'm pressing high up. It does leave some space for Lukaku here, unfortunately, which is one of the weaknesses with this tactic. When you use that high pressing, it's going to leave some space. And here we are on the attack here. Good pass. Oh yeah, nice from Yoda there to let the ball go to Mane, and he can pass it into goal. And here a long ball from our left back to our right wing, and Yota he's completely free there to just take his time, find Firmino inside the box, and end up scoring. And this is the game against Tottenham, which we beat 4-1 again, I think, away from home. So a really good performance. We're gonna just take a look at the tactics. You can see here, Tottenham started with the lead, and they scored a goal here with high pressing on my back four, which resulted in an error, and they end up with the goal. And here you can just see here, I'm gonna pause the game. Salah receives the ball here and runs down here, and on the other side we have Luis Diaz completely unmarked because he can make that smart move inside the pitch. A lot of their defenders are focusing on Mane, that is my offensive midfielder. So with using this tactic with the front three, none of them attacker, it creates a lot of confusion in the opposing team. As you can see here, 3 of their players are trying to cover Mane, while only 1 player is on Luis Diaz, which end up with the ball and scoring here. So you can create a lot of good situations with this tactic just because their defenders get confused with who to cover without a striker. And here, a good ball to Firmino. Romero can't keep up with him. A good ball behind the defense, and he's just ice cold in those situations. And this is going to be a free kick goal. Matip with the header, a good goal there. And again, I have a high pressure here. As you can see here, they are completely in the midfield while I'm standing fairly wide here. Alex Arnold here, he gets the ball, dribbles it down to the back line, and crosses it in to Firmino, who is completely free. So this tactic is obviously good, but you need to have the right players to make this tactic work. I don't think you will be that successful if you use this tactic with a League 2, League 1 or Championship team. Especially the front three, you need players with good off the ball movement and good speed to be able to get past those defenders, because they are going to start a little bit further away from the goal and the defenders. But if you have those good players, you are definitely in for a treat. So thank you for watching, guys, and see you next time.